Hi, and welcome to Health Directions webinar on coping with job loss and depression. I am Diane Farrell, Director of Clinical Operations at North Central Behavioral Health Systems. It's important to recognize that there is significant emotional impact to job loss, even if it's temporary. All individuals get satisfaction from work, whether it's pay, a sense of accomplishment, having a good relationship with coworkers, or just having some order to the day. Our world revolves around work. What we do is often part of conversations, and we and others make judgments based on work. So a job change is one of the most significant issues a person can face. We often think only of job loss related to layoff or termination, but any type of change can lead to depression. Unexpected or unplanned termination, layoff, or illness can leave people feeling helpless and depressed. Planned endings can also lead to feelings of depression, even if it's the worker's choice to leave. How can we recognize if someone is not coping? Friends and family might notice that the individual doesn't take as much care for how they look. They might notice the individual is sleeping too much, too little, or at odd hours. But beware, since these symptoms and signs also might reflect someone who is just enjoying retirement by sleeping in and wearing their pajamas all day. So we look for more than these issues. In addition to the disruptions in sleep and self-care, the individual might also have anger outbursts or be irritable. They might snap at someone over the littlest things. They could seem tired even after sleeping all night. They might have difficulty making decisions, and this could be especially noticeable when someone has had a history of making decisions without any input. And sometimes people who are struggling with coping have an increased need to be with others. This is especially apparent in retirees who follow their spouse around all day. These signs can be very short-term in nature and should not be an issue when they are. It is normal to feel sad over the change. This could be described as feeling kind of empty or unmotivated. People might also feel angry about the job loss, and this anger likely will be directed at the employer, but could be directed at themselves as well and at the world. The stages of grief developed by Helen Kubler-Ross have been reviewed extensively and can apply to this situation or any loss situation. We will go through these stages since it's an important part of coping with any loss. It's important to recognize that in all of these stages, a family member can be supportive and help the person along. But at any time when it seems too overwhelming, a professional can be and should be called. The stages are all important, but please note that the process might not be as sequential as the list describes. People move back and forth many times from one stage to the next. Denial is the initial stage. People in this stage feel that this is a mistake, it's temporary, and that somehow magically it will all change back. They might make statements like, they, the employer, will regret this and call me back to work, or once my health improves, I'll go back to work. Family members can be good listeners, but this is an important stage to move through. Arguing with the individual won't help them move through the stage of denial. The best option is to listen and repeat back what you hear. Saying something like, you think that they're regretting letting you go, allows the other person to realize that you've heard them, but it doesn't give the message that you're in agreement. Others cannot move someone from the stage of denial. The individual needs to make their own decision to move from this stage. It's kind of a safety net, so that the reality of the situation isn't such a strong force. After denial, the individual sometimes moves into the stage of anger. Many people might briefly be in denial and remain in anger for the rest of their life. This is such a waste since the source of the anger really isn't involved in the emotional struggle. Individuals who have lost jobs are angry at their workplace, at the boss, at coworkers, and sometimes even at relatives. Many times the focus of the anger moves like a beacon and focuses on one thing at a time. The individual might make statements like, "They had no right to fire me. I was the only one who was doing a good job." Or, "I can't believe my coworkers didn't support me." Or even, "Why did you let me take that job? You should have known that it wasn't going to work out." Anger's a wild card. It's surprising how long it can live in someone's life. Loved ones, again, can just listen and repeat back what they heard and say things like, "I see how angry you are at them." This allows the person to see that you understand, but each person makes their own decision how long to stay angry. Making a deal to get things right is our natural response to get back in control. None of us like to be out of control, so bargaining allows us to feel like we have control. Bargaining is usually in one's head, making mental deals with God. "If you get me my job back, I'll go to church every week." Or making mental deals with oneself. "I'll quit drinking and then I'll go back to work." Sometimes in the bargaining stage, the individual attempts to make real deals with their former employer. Making deals through this stage of bargaining gives the individual a sense of control over the situation. It's an important process in this stage, and either internally in your head or externally with others, it's important to identify what deals are available and what is possible. It's also important to understand that the deals may not be possible. The next stage of this model is the stage of depression. This occurs when the individual recognizes that the situation is out of their control, the bargaining didn't work, the anger hasn't worked, and they're left with the feelings of depression. Sometimes the individual may move back to another stage and feel all of those feelings again. This isn't by choice. People usually don't make the conscious decision to be back in denial again or to be angry again. Our minds many times will go back to a place that's easier to manage, and for many people, being angry is much easier to manage than feeling depressed. In the stage of depression, the symptoms of depression become evident. The individual may be tearful and lose interest in the events of their life. It's important to recognize that this depression looks a lot like the chemical imbalance of depression, but medications may not be needed for this. Once the person decides to move on with life, they've reached the final stage, which is acceptance. It's important to recognize we can't skip all the other stages and just choose to be in the stage of acceptance. The stages all serve a purpose to learn and base future decisions on. None of us like the process, but future success is more likely when we learn from anger, depression, denial, and bargaining. In acceptance, the individual begins to move on. The issue no longer holds power over their emotions, and they can become interested and involved in their life again. This process isn't a one-way street. Very often we're surprised when those emotions return very strong out of the blue. This isn't because the person is a failure at any of the stages, but because the process of grieving takes time. Like the loss of a loved one, losing their job, and the emotions connected to this can take a year or longer to cope with. It's good to know that this is normal. A person doesn't lose a job and magically pick up the next day and go on. Normal response is to feel all of the feelings we discussed. There is no particular timeline to follow and no particular order. One big factor in how well the person deals with this is how they've done with other difficult issues and whether they're currently going through other difficulties. Like a cup, we can fill it with the issues related to job loss, but this will overflow when more is added. Even other issues related to job loss, such as outstanding bills, inability to pay rent, and upcoming holidays, can add to that cup and push all of the feelings over the edge. When this starts, it's a good time to find a professional to talk to. One way to cope is to replace something with something else. It is really not possible to do nothing. We all say we're taking a vacation and doing nothing, but we read, we swim, we tour sites, we hike, we take naps, we play games, we watch TV. So when faced with no job, do something. Like in work, set temporary goals. This could be volunteering. It could be babysitting for a friend. Whatever it is, find something you love and have had little time to do in the past and do it. Coping is also possible with a trusted person to listen and give you feedback. This might be a challenge. Our friends are good people to turn to, but they may not be comfortable in this role. Also, they may not be able to give you an honest response because they don't want to be hurtful. Consider whether you would be able to hear negative things from a friend. Professionals are able to set good boundaries and help someone through these challenges when friends are not able to do this. Remember, inactivity of job loss can compound depressive feelings when weight gain starts. It's easy to overeat when you're home. TV shows and entire networks are focused on food. Take time to work out. Walking outside is free. Find a fitness buddy who will challenge to keep you active. The plus to this is that physical activity improves mood. Keep active and keep the positive brain chemicals flowing. Get up, move. Turn off those things that tie you to the sofa. Set a plan for closets to clean, projects to do in your home. Set short-term goals for each day. Set weekly goals for bigger projects. Accomplishing something will help replace some of what's missing from work. Even on days with no plans, keep track of what you do. Review what makes you feel fulfilled. Consider jobs with those tasks as you move to another career. Consider volunteer work as an opportunity to make connections and build skills. Remember, there are more than financial consequences related to job loss. The emotional turmoil can be very difficult to move through without support. Starting over might mean that the best is yet to come. Thank you for joining the webinar. If you'd like to be coached through this, please contact our Health Directions office at 815-224-1610. Thank you.